She was just driving home from work, until flashing lights changed everything. What happened next left the entire street silent, and ended someone's career forever. You're watching Black Inside USA, where real stories meet real power. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because this story, you won't believe how it ends. In a world where stories speak louder than words, this is Black Inside USA. Real emotions, real people, real change. The sunset was bleeding gold over the skyline of Atlanta, its light bouncing off glass towers and washing the streets in a warm glow. A red 1968 Mustang convertible purred down Peachtree Avenue, turning heads as it passed. Behind the wheel sat Marilyn Carter, elegant in her deep maroon blazer. Her short curls framed a calm, intelligent face, the kind that carried the quiet authority of someone who'd seen both struggle and success. She had just wrapped up a week at the courthouse, ready to unwind. To anyone watching, she looked like a woman who had everything together, confident, peaceful, in control. Then, from the rearview mirror, came the piercing flash of blue and red lights. Marilyn frowned. She checked her speed, perfectly within the limit, seatbelt on, no phone in her hand. Still, the siren blared behind her. She sighed and eased to the side of the road, right in front of a small brick library. Her heart beat a little faster, but her face stayed composed. The officer stepped out, tall, blonde, uniform crisp, expression sharp. Her badge glinted in the dying light, Officer K. Reynolds. Reynolds approached quickly, hand resting near her holster. "Ma'am," she said in a commanding tone, "turn off the engine and step out of the vehicle." Marilyn's brow furrowed. "Is something wrong, officer?" Reynolds' eyes flicked over the Mustang. "This vehicle matches the description of a stolen car reported earlier today. I'll need to see your license and registration." Marilyn reached calmly into her purse. "Of course, but I can assure you." "Step out of the car, please." The officer's tone sharpened. People nearby began to notice. A few bystanders pulled out their phones, recording. The sound of whispering filled the background. Marilyn opened the door, slow and steady. Her heels clicked against the pavement as she stood beside the car. Officer Reynolds moved closer, glancing at the paperwork Marilyn handed over. Then, frowning, she looked Marilyn up and down. "This is your car." "Yes," Marilyn replied evenly. "I've owned it for 6 years." Reynolds' jaw tightened. "I'll need to verify that." The tension was thick. Marilyn could feel every camera lens aimed her way, every whisper cutting through the air. A young man muttered to his friend, "Man, she looks like she just came from work." Another voice said, "Why is she pressing her like that?" Officer Reynolds gestured toward the hood of the car. "Place your hands here, ma'am." Marilyn blinked. "Excuse me, just for a moment, until we confirm ownership." Marilyn hesitated, and in that hesitation, a quiet fear rippled beneath her calm exterior. She had seen moments like this before, moments where patience and dignity were tested. She placed her hands gently on the car's glossy red surface. Reynolds stood behind her, radioing in details. Her grip on the radio was firm, her voice clipped. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. I've got a possible match on the stolen Mustang, plate number." Before she could finish, the dispatcher's voice crackled through. "Copy that, Unit 12. The registered owner is..." Reynolds interrupted. "We're confirming. Stand by." Marilyn took a quiet breath. Her voice remained soft. "Officer, may I make a call while you check? I can clear this up." Reynolds' eyes narrowed. "No calls until I finish my verification." A few gasps came from the crowd. One woman whispered, "Why won't she just let her talk?" Reynolds looked at Marilyn again, almost as if she was searching for a reason not to believe her. "Ma'am," she said tightly, "I'm going to need to ask you again, are you sure this is your vehicle?" Marilyn's lips curved in a faint smile. "More sure than you think, officer." Minutes stretched like hours. The crowd had grown. Dozens of onlookers stood on the sidewalk, filming every second. Reynolds' partner finally arrived, Officer Jackson, calm and observant. He took one look at the situation and frowned slightly. "Everything all right here?" Reynolds nodded curtly. "Possible stolen car. Just verifying." Jackson leaned toward her, speaking quietly. "Maybe let's wait for dispatch confirmation." But Reynolds' pride was already engaged. She wanted to prove she was right. She turned back to Marilyn. "You said you've owned it for 6 years." "Yes." "Where'd you get it?" "From a collector in Savannah." "Fully restored." Reynolds raised an eyebrow. "A collector? Must have cost a fortune." Marilyn tilted her head slightly. "It did. Worth every dollar." Something in her tone, composed, confident, seemed to irritate the officer further. Reynolds stepped closer. eyes sharp. Funny thing, though, you don't seem like someone who'd be into vintage cars. Marilyn's smile didn't waver. And what exactly does someone like me seem into, officer? The question hung in the air like a blade. The crowd murmured. Someone whispered, "Oh, that's not gonna end well." Reynolds shifted, uncomfortable but defensive. "I just mean, people usually rent cars like this, not drive them." Marilyn nodded slowly. "Noted." Then it happened. Reynolds got a response from dispatch, but before she fully listened, she placed a hand on Marilyn's shoulder, guiding her down against the hood. "Ma'am, stay still." Marilyn winced, not from pain, but from disbelief. The cameras clicked, recording everything. Reynolds' radio crackled again, loud and clear this time. "Unit 12, confirmation. The vehicle is registered to Judge Marilyn Elaine Carter." Repeat, Judge Marilyn Carter. License valid, no reports. Over. The world seemed to freeze. Reynolds' hand stopped mid-motion. Her eyes widened, the murmuring crowd went dead silent, and then erupted. "Judge, did she say judge? No way. Oh, she's done for." Marilyn turned her head slowly, looking right into Reynolds' stunned face. "I tried to tell you, officer," she said quietly. "You just didn't want to listen." Reynolds stepped back, her hand trembling slightly. She stammered, "Ma'am, I mean, Your Honor, I." Marilyn straightened her blazer calmly, her eyes firm but not cruel. "I understand, officer," she said softly. "Everyone makes mistakes. The question is, do we learn from them?" The words hung heavy in the air. The crowd's energy shifted, not angry, not mocking, just silent and watchful. Officer Jackson exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. "Karen," he muttered under his breath. Reynolds looked around, cameras everywhere, capturing her every breath. Her face flushed. She tried to apologize, but no words came out. Marilyn nodded toward the red Mustang. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have somewhere to be." She got in, started the engine, and drove off, calm, composed, unshaken. By the next morning, the video had gone viral. 10 million views in less than a day. The title, "Officer Confronts Woman Over Stolen Car, Finds Out She's a Judge." News outlets replayed the footage again and again. Commentators discussed it on talk shows. The police department issued a statement. An internal review is being conducted regarding the incident involving Officer K. Reynolds. At the courthouse, Marilyn walked through the doors like she did every morning, graceful, professional, focused. Her colleagues greeted her with quiet nods, some with proud smiles. But inside, she felt a weight, not of anger, but of sadness. Because she knew what the cameras didn't show, the years she had worked to earn her seat on that bench, the battles she had fought to be treated as an equal. And still, one moment of assumption almost reduced her to nothing more than a suspect. A week later, Marilyn received a letter at her office. It was from Officer Reynolds. Inside was a handwritten note. "Greater than, Your Honor. I want to apologize for my actions that day. I let judgment come before evidence. I've been suspended pending review, and honestly, I deserve it. But I've also started taking new bias awareness training on my own. What happened changed me more than you'll ever know. If you ever need someone to speak to new recruits about what I did wrong, I'd be honored to help. Karen Reynolds." Marilyn read it twice, then a small smile crept across her face. She reached for her pen and wrote back. "Greater than, Officer Reynolds. Growth begins the moment we acknowledge our mistakes. Consider this your first step towards something better. I accept your apology, Judge M. Carter." 3 months later, the police academy held a seminar for new recruits. At the front of the auditorium stood Judge Marilyn Carter, invited to speak about justice and fairness. She shared her story, not to shame, but to teach. She spoke about the danger of assumptions, the cost of pride, and the power of humility. When she finished, the audience applauded. And from the back of the room, someone stood, uniform crisp, eyes humble. It was Officer Reynolds. She approached afterward, and Marilyn extended her hand. "Good to see you again, officer," she said warmly. Reynolds smiled faintly. "Thank you, Your Honor, for giving me another chance to do better." Marilyn nodded. "That's what justice is for, not to destroy, but to correct." Sometimes the most powerful justice doesn't happen in a courtroom, it happens on the street, in a moment when truth and humility collide. What began as a misunderstanding became a turning point, not just for one officer, but for everyone who watched and learned. Because respect isn't about who you are, it's about how you treat people, especially when you think no one's watching. You've been watching Black Inside USA, where real stories meet real power. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it, because the more we tell the truth, the more light we bring into the world. Thanks for watching Black Inside USA. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every story deserves to be heard.